Finally, we have some sunshine. It has been raining for absolute weeks. The ground is soggy and there is mud everywhere. The caravan is getting a little bit mouldy in places, including my curtains, so I may have to be pulling those out and giving them a good hand wash. Due to the lovely sunshine that has just appeared, I am going out on a much needed walk. I intend on leaving our little caravan, our little home, and taking a walk up to a place called Yatton Park, which is in Tauranga, which is where I live in New Zealand. And the walk takes you up along an estuary, over the bridge, and into a section which has a boardwalk that runs around the exterior of the estuary. It then takes you towards a beautiful park which is full of gorgeous trees of all different specimens, ages, heights, and I love to head up there because I often spot some wildlife, and it's somewhere that I love to just sit really under a tree and even read a good book. So I've got my bag ready, I've got some water, so yeah, let's get my shoes on and head out of the front door. I'm off for my walk.
See you later.
Bye.
Have a good walk.
Thank you. There's so much traffic today. Unfortunately, there's always a little bit of noise before the peace, isn't there? And like anything in life, when something's really noisy, you really appreciate the peace, don't we? I was about to get across that bridge actually. There was nothing to really say about crossing that bridge because it was so noisy. I couldn't actually think clearly at all. There was a few seagulls that swooped on down, but other than that, I just couldn't wait to get over the top. So I'm glad we're the other side now, and I've taken a left turn onto a concrete path. There's a bench on the left-hand side, a wooden bench, typical community bench, which does face out onto the estuary. And the water is far out at the moment, so you can see all the mud and all the little pieces of shell and a few little sprouts of plants that are popping up through. On the bank actually there's some gorgeous bright fuchsia pink flowers, all coastal plants with their big round juicy leaves. On my right we've got a few modern houses, some pretty little gardens, and as you can hear, a few birds bouncing around, and I think, like me, very happy to see this sunshine this morning. As we continue walking, there are some huge trees that are swooping across and over the pathway. These trees in particular I call dreadlock trees. They have the most amazing willow that sweeps down, but in massive clumps that always reminds me of dreadlock hair. As we turn the corner, we hit a little bit of gravel and onto the wooden boardwalk. Around New Zealand we have a lot of boardwalks around a lot of the estuaries. This one in particular looks like it's been here for years, although it's safe to walk on. It is covered in a green moss. The Pohutakawa trees swoop over the top and create some shade, which is much needed on the hot summer days here. There's a campsite to the right, which I've actually stayed in before with my partner. It's a beautiful spot where if you get the right plot, you're facing right out onto the estuary. The sky is a beautiful blue. The clouds are fluffy and small, like little cotton wool buds. It's always interesting on a low tide to see what's left lurking around in the mud banks. I can see pine cones, pieces of wood, even a can of baked beans. In the background, life is taking over. A few factories line the edge of the walk, and I can hear them cutting and drilling and chatting and loading up their vans. We're back onto the gravel now. The gravel walkway takes us around the edge of the estuary, and it leads to probably one of my favourite houses on the corner. It's made of white concrete, and the trees that surround it are absolutely beautiful. They're very tropical. We've got palm trees, birds of paradise, some flaxes, and some banana plants. There is a huge balcony that looks out onto the estuary with a great big fire pit where I can imagine they spend many evenings basking in the sunshine and looking out over the hill. The garden is maintained beautifully, and I can tell that they absolutely love their home. We have some gorgeous lilies that have just popped up. They look fresh and green and very juicy, so obviously very happy with the amount of rain that's just come in. A beautiful white flower with its gorgeous yellow centre. It's folding open and absolutely basking in the sunshine. Just on the corner, I saw a beautiful pink pop up. I think it's a camellia. It's absolutely gorgeous, beautiful little delicate flowers in a baby pink. The tree sweeps up and down over a little stream that passes outwards onto a park. I think what we can hear is another very happy bird. Let's turn the corner. So we have the estuary on the left-hand side. There's even a cherry blossom, a white, beautiful little flower. There are some building works going on to the right-hand side. It's an amazing section that looks over the estuary. The diggers are working really hard, and by the looks of it, they've knocked down an old building. There's a house to my right, which is absolutely massive, with a swimming pool in the front yard and a big black dog barking outside the window. I can hear the sounds of the cicadas, the crickets, and a little rustle of something coming out through the grass. The boardwalk now connects off of the gravel, and we come over to a little stream. We're now heading into the mangroves. I absolutely love walking through the mangroves. The mangroves are about 2 feet high, covered with some tussock grass either side. I love the way when the tide comes out that you can see the little tops poking out through the mud. The water is so calm and it creates a mirrored effect into the water. Just on the left, I've just spotted a grey heron. It's quite a young heron, I would say. His gorgeous little red feet, his silvery body, his white face and his long black beak. I love when they walk, that they look like they're head bopping. And as he makes his way through, I think he's looking out for a little fish. And definitely something to find in the water. A bee just buzzed past me. It's a great big bumblebee. We've got a variety of plants, including gorse, which are obviously a weed, but I do love their little yellow flowers, and a beautiful little stream. We've got some more flax, some cabbage trees, and a lot of branches that definitely need a little bit of TLC, especially after the storms we've been having. I can just hear in the distance the sound of some ambulance or police sirens, and I must say I'm very relieved to be over this side of the water. I am definitely feeling so much better. I'm feeling clearer in my head, which is exactly what I wanted. I think I just needed to mask out the sounds, the overthinking in the mind, over-processing, and all the worry and anxiety that comes from that. When I'm out walking, I try to look at every single detail. I look at the colours, the shapes, the smells, and the sounds. With all that going on my mind, there's no room for me to stop and think about all my worries and concerns. And what I love to see is how nature just continues no matter what. Even after all the storms and the rain, everything is just beginning to bloom through and continue to grow. I think we can all learn a little bit from that, can't we? The boardwalk is finishing soon. As I turn the corner, a beautiful little bird has just come and sat on the rock next to me. He's a little house sparrow. I love his little brown body, his creamy front, his tiny little beak, and I just love the way they hop around on their 2 little feet. I think we're quick to just dismiss the common bird. Just as I'm turning the corner and about to leave the boardwalk, I come across a sea of nasturtium. These flowers are definitely underestimated. These are the most beautiful flowers. The colours of yellow, fiery red and orange pop through the little umbrellas of the leaves. I love these plants and they are edible. I've also seen online recently that you can use the big round broad leaves as a fajita wrap. What a great idea. And you can eat the beautiful delicate little flowers, pop them on your salad, put them in a stir fry, and voila, you have got a delicious tasty meal. Just poking up from under them I can see some cleaver. Cleaver is a fantastic little herb. Cleaver was always used back in my childhood. We used to bundle it up, grab some and throw at each other, and it used to stick to all of our clothes. I think you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But did you know you can pick the cleaver, pop it in a glass jar, pour over some boiling water, steep it and drink it as a delicious tea. It is a fantastic antioxidant and detox tea, and it tastes a little bit like cucumber. I think I'm going to pick some and take it home with me today. Oh, I can tell I'm quite unfit at the moment and absolutely out of breath. I'm glad to get to the top of that hill. What is this tree? So I've just come across a tree and it's got quite a light grey effect on its trunk, and hanging from it can only be described as a bunch of grapes, but in the most gorgeous ruby red colour. They look quite small and firm, and I definitely don't think I'm going to be eating them. What is absolutely gorgeous is the contrast in the colours. We've got the light grey of the trunk and the branches, the bright blue sky, and the little orangey red berries that are poking through. That's definitely one I'm going to have a little look up and see what that is. Next door we've got a maple tree. I love the curved edges on the leaves. And yet again, another one of these absolutely beautiful trees. As we're in October, the blossoms are absolutely blooming. Ahead of me I can see the dusky, bright baby pink. On my left I can see a beautiful tree covered in lemons. I would love to just go and help myself, but it's just something I wouldn't do. Sometimes here in New Zealand people keep boxes out the front with a sign saying free, and you can just go and help yourself. I absolutely love that. I would definitely like to see more of that over here. On the right hand side is a big shopping precinct. We've got a supermarket, food stores, garage and outlets. It's actually quite a handy little shopping area, and as you can see it's not that far from where I live. I often pop to the supermarket there to pick up a few groceries. On my left is a reserve, and there are two pukekos that are waddling their way across. Pukekos are a native bird. They're quite an interesting character, and they definitely always come in twos. They've been known to be a bit of a pest here and are very good at getting in on your vegetable patch. We've got two that keep popping in onto our land, but we do keep shooing them away, but they just keep coming back. Not much we can do there, really, is there? Morning.
Morning.
I'm seeing more and more people riding around on e-bikes. I think they're absolutely fantastic, and it's definitely on my wish list. It kind of just takes away that burden of slogging and sweating away up those horrible hills. And here in New Zealand there are a lot of hills. I don't know about you, but I am very happy to get away from that busy road. We're back on a lovely little gravel pathway. Now this is a pathway that takes us up to Yatton Park. It's very peaceful. The estuary is on the left, and there are trees that run all the way along the pathway. A few open sections lead up to a few benches so you can sit and admire the view. It's pretty beautiful today, I've got to say. This track is often used by people walking their dogs. At certain times of the year, the dog has to be on the leash. This is normally due to wildlife and particularly protecting certain species. I really do love that they do this. I'm a very dog-friendly person, but also we need to protect the wildlife and the areas surrounding it. sounds of the birds are so much louder. It's quite dense in trees, mangroves, reeds and bushes, so there must be plenty of little hidey holes for them. One of the trees I can spot looks like a lilac. The most beautiful, delicate lilac flowers heading off from branches into a cone shape that just drops down. There's some tall bamboo, a few blackbirds and some toi poking up through. It's probably been about 7 minutes, who's counting, on our walk. We're still along the gravel path. On the right there's a sign that says reserve access, but I've done that way before and we're not going to make our way through there because eventually it just takes us back onto that really loud road and I'm just really not in the mood for that. So we're going to continue. As a seagull passes up and over my head, I just noticed these beautiful little blue flowers. I don't think I've ever seen them before actually. They're obviously some kind of coastal flower and probably known as a weed, but for me it's not really a weed. If it's pretty, it's staying, as long as it's not doing any harm to anything else in the area, of course. I feel like I'm gaining quite a good pace on this walk. Luckily I've got some really good trainers, but I feel like I'm in a nice little flow. I'm really enjoying you coming along on this walk with me, and it's actually giving me a little sense of company. Moving over here to New Zealand meant obviously I left all my family and friends at home. Sometimes when I come out on these walks, I do little voice messages to a very dear friend of mine back in the UK. It always makes me feel like she's with me and witnessing everything I see. It's nice to share something with others, and I suppose this is my way of sharing this walk with you. And I really do hope it helps and you are really enjoying it. I know I am. Oh, a little white daisy. Oh, and there's so many. They're actually scattered all the way along the bank. So not only do we have our gorgeous little blue flowers, we've now got daisies and, by the looks of it, some yarrow. That's another good medicinal plant. As well as the yarrow, I can see some clover. Apparently that's very good for you too. So another little one to investigate about, I think. I can only see a couple of yarrow, so I'm not going to be picking any of that. We've definitely got to leave some to nature, haven't we? And not get too greedy. Okay, let's continue. Morning. Who's this little fella? Oh, it's a little beetle. Poor little fella. He is powering his way across the pathway here. I was thinking I'd stop and help him, but to be honest, there's not many people coming, and he's doing very well on his own to make his way across. A gorgeous shiny back, and his little legs are working really hard. I wonder what he's off to go and get. He's definitely off to hide, that's for sure. We're finally at the end of that path. I shouldn't really say finally, should I? Because it's been wonderful, but we're at the end of the path. We're now heading more into some dense areas of trees. It's very cool in here. Just above my head, we've got 2 birds. They're picking at the kowhai, which is a beautiful little bell-shaped yellow flower, taking the nectar. And as I take the nectar out, all of the little petals are dropping above my head. It's basically a shower of flowers. On my right is a set of steps. I think I'm going to make my way up here. Wow, the air is so crisp and refreshing. I can smell some jasmine. Ooh, yes, spotted. Oh, that is a smell, isn't it? Absolutely beautiful. I love the little white flowers, but the smell, oh, that's gorgeous, so fresh. in front of me is a huge tree. I have no idea what it is. Oh yes, I do, I can see it more clearly. It's a gum tree. You can tell because it kind of like sheds its skin. Wow, that's huge. Okay, let's carry on round. Hello, little birdie. Another little bird. Looks like he's guiding me in the right direction. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Bird. Very cute. Oh, on my right, mushrooms. Amazing. These are some kind of fungi that are growing out the side of the tree. Now, I don't tend to touch any mushrooms. Unless I was with an expert, I'd be happy to. These are beautiful. They are almost, well, what colour would you describe that? Kind of like an aubergine colour, a little bit fainter. They're quite furry on the top. And the underside, they actually almost look like little piggy ears, but they're round. They're really gorgeous. And they're poking out the side of the tree, which is covered in moss. There are so many of them. I think I might have to take a photo. I don't think I've ever seen these before. So I think I might take a picture and then see if I can research and find out what it is. It's quite an unusual shape. And actually, the one at the bottom looks even more like a shape of an ear. So I'll be interested to see what kind of fungus that is. Whew, the last set of steps. We've made it. Here we are at Yatton Park. It's amazing here. And the first tree that we are met with is the most gorgeous pine. You can see all the sap dripping down the trunk. It's almost like someone's got some PVA glue and have just trickled it down the stem. Let's have a look and see if we can find some fresh pine gum. Oh yeah, here we go. Wow, that's so amazing. It's seeping out of the tree trunk and trickling all the way down. It is said that it does this to help heal any wounds that have been created on the tree by insects or human damage. And it has the most gorgeous fresh scent of pine. It's a big walkway that runs all the way around the exterior. There are so many beautiful trees, lots of different varieties, a bit of uneven surface, but pretty much flat. Daisies are poking their way up through the grass. Birds are absolutely everywhere. We're quite high up, so the view is pretty magnificent. It looks all the way over the estuary and you can see exactly where we've walked from today. I'm not much of an expert on trees. In fact, I'm not really an expert at all. I find that being amongst the trees really helps me. I just find a real sense of peace, serenity and calm. I think most people will admit that after a walk you feel a million times better than when you first set off for that journey. Oh, that's so cool. So someone has tied a bit of string and put a little bit of wood on the base as a little swing. I love that. I'm always on the hunt for a bird's nest, and I've found a few on the floor here. I never take from the tree, but if there are any bird's nests that have fallen down, I do love to collect them. I quite like to decorate around my home with them. And now I've got myself a brand new greenhouse. I think I've got the perfect spot to put them. In the distance I can see a bird's nest, which is just laying on one of the branches. I'm definitely not going to be climbing up there to go and get it. I'd quite like to get home in one piece. But as we continue our walk, I'm definitely going to keep my eye out for any nests that may have fallen. I've just spotted the most perfect bench spot. I think I'm going to sit here and have a little rest. Come to the bench in memory of Marilyn Ann McRae, in brackets hairdresser, 1947 to 2020, treasured member Bethlehem Tapuna Lions. I love coming across these benches where they have their memorial plaques placed on the back. I think it's really special to sit and read them and to take the time to appreciate the person who was once here. I'm sure she spent many a times coming up here and taking these walks. So, for Marilyn, let's have a drink and sit and admire the view over the estuary. Morning. Hi there. Hello, darling. That was a very nice little pit stop. I had a drink and a little snack. The sun was blazing down on my skin. It was absolutely wonderful. I'm going to continue making my way around Yatton Park now and see what we can find.
Really nice apartment and almost sort of
a few of the trees have got some signs to give us a little bit of information, handy for the likes of me who don't really know what they're looking at. This one is a Norfolk Island pine. It's around 51 metres high, and it says the date it was planted was probably late 1860s. Well, that's absolutely amazing. Apparently it's known as the tallest Norfolk Island pine in New Zealand and probably the tallest tree in Tauranga. Yep, it is absolutely huge. It says on here that Captain Cook thought that the pine would provide masts for the largest ships. The timber was later found to be unsuitable for this purpose but proved useful in other areas. How incredible is that? I can't believe that that's been here for all those years. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Nature is definitely here to stay. Let's see if we can find any more plaques. I've just spotted another plaque in the distance. This one is called a Yatton cypress. Apologies if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, but it's native to North Himalayan mountains of China and Vietnam. It reckons it's about 37 metres high. This tree is likely to be one of the largest of its kind in the world. The species is endangered in its natural range. What a shame. The wood is said to be aromatic. An essential oil extracted from these parts is used in medicine to cure inflammatory wounds, as an antiseptic, and is also used for cosmetics. Maybe I should go over and have a little sniff. Well, I can't smell anything. Standing underneath the tree at the base of the trunk and looking up, its massive circular structure with all of the branches spiralling round and coming off from the top. The branches actually almost weeps. The colour is very beautiful. She's definitely magnificent. I was just carrying on down the path and I could smell the strongest scent of onion. And then as I looked to my left, I could see a field of the onion weed. The beautiful, delicate little white flowers that pop up from the bright green stem. It is covered in these beautiful white flowers. So I think I might have to collect some because we can use this in our cooking. So maybe this could go into our dinner tonight. I mean, my bag's going to smell quite a bit, but I definitely think it's worth it. One tip I have learned is never to pick off the edges, especially when it comes to dogs that pass through. It is very juicy and very smelly, but a good smell. It's like the freshest onion smell you can actually imagine. Come across another little plaque. Queensland Kauri. These trees are huge. As a species, apparently they're not that rare, but despite being heavily logged in the past. But the timber is typically used for plywood, cabinet work and furniture, boat building. You might even see it in your kitchen as it's used a lot to make bench tops. I've just spotted the most magnificent blossom tree and I can't help but go over and have a little look. The pink is absolutely divine, and the branches sweep down across the floor. On the floor there's a carpet of all the petals that have dropped off. It is so delicate and magnificent. You can also hear the bees buzzing around. I love the sound of the bees buzzing around. It is truly magnificent, and I can't help but stop and take a photo. I really had to tear myself away from that beautiful blossom tree. I could have sat under there for hours, definitely with a good book as well. As I continue down the path, we've got another swing. I love that. The locals clearly string all these up for the kids to play. What a beautiful spot. Just past some kids climbing in the trees. I used to love doing that as a child. I don't know why I stopped. Maybe that's something I need to start doing again. The wind certainly picked up on this top edge, but here we are by the gorgeous little man-made stream. The very top of the hill, where the water comes from, trickles all the way down a narrow path that heads on to another section, down and underneath a gorgeous little bridge. It's almost like a Japanese garden. Perfectly situated is a bench to sit and reflect at the top. I don't think you can beat the sound of running water, can you? Oh, just makes you want to take a deep breath, doesn't it? Let's sit and enjoy it here for a little while. Heading away from the stream, I'm feeling definitely more refreshed. We pass the most glorious orange tree. Wow, they're amazing. They look actually like they could be little tangerines. I definitely think that they're ready for picking. I wonder if people come out here and grab some. I'd definitely bring a ladder if I lived in the area. A few broken pieces are scattered across the ground, so I'm gathering the birds have had a very nice feast here. I know I certainly would.
Hi. Hello. We're so excited today.
Oh, that's cool. It's the weather, isn't it? I think
yeah.
we're all a bit excited to get out, aren't we?
So right.
Oh, she's gorgeous. She's lovely and soft.
She's lovely. She's gorgeous.
Good dog.
So good.
Oh.
Yeah. I got her from the rescue, but I'm pretty sure she actually rescued me.
Spot, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Just admiring all the oranges on the tree.
Oh, I didn't know.
Loads of them. I thought,
Hey,
you need to bring a ladder.
Yeah.
There's so many up there.
Get someone to climb it.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, you
have a lovely day.
You too. Nice to meet you. One thing I've realised on this walk is that my knowledge of birds is pretty poor, a little bit like the trees. So I think it's time that I headed to the local library to take out a book on the local birds. I think it will make my walks even more enjoyable knowing exactly what it is I'm looking at, and then I can share this with you. We have done the complete loop of Yatton Park and walked all the way back down that really long pathway and onto the main busy road. I don't think I can resist going into the charity shop, so let's head on in and see if there's anything we can find. Needs to be small enough to fit into my bag, but it's always worth a look, isn't it?
Had a massive hit with the song Another Day in Paradise. It won the Grammy Award for Record of the Year.
Hello.
Hello.
Just that, thank you very much. I couldn't resist picking up a little something from the charity shop. It was only $2 and it is a tile, and on the tile, which is probably about 10 centimetres square, is pictures of garden vegetables. We've got cabbages and tomatoes and aubergine, and I actually thought it would look very cute inside my new greenhouse, so I bought it and absolutely love it. So we're going to carry on the walk all the way back. We've headed off the main road and we're heading back down to the estuary. The wind's picked up a little bit, but to be honest, I'm quite happy about the little breeze. It's such a sunny, beautiful day, and I'm building up a little bit of a sweat. But I am really enjoying the exercise. We're now walking back along the boardwalk where the mangroves sit either side. The level of the water has risen now, so it looks completely different than when we first started the walk. There's a lot more wildlife now working its way in, including the 3 little ducks that are just heading towards us. I also saw a random sandal that was left just in the middle of the boardwalk. It was definitely not there on our way out. And I often wonder what type of person would just leave their sandal behind as they continued on their run or walk. The black dog is still looking outside the window. I think he's wondering what on earth is going on next door as the construction workers still continue to dig the earth. I've just spotted something that I'd missed on the way out. Along the edge of the water there is an embankment full of pieces of rubble and stone. A lot of them have been painted, and there's writing and pictures drawn all over them. Let's have a little look and see what they say. One of the stones is painted white, and in blue lettering it reads, "Let's do this." It's also got yellow little dots all over. Next door to that is painted with beautiful lilac flowers and green luscious leaves. And I can see just 2 more up the end. Another one reads kindness, friendship, and the final rock on the edge says stand together. I love the rocks idea, and I think it's something really simple that we could all introduce into our community and spread a little bit of love. We all need that, don't we? And sometimes we need those little gentle reminders. We're back on the boardwalk now. Some children are playing along, throwing sticks into the water as the tide has now risen. It feels like the water is just going on for miles and miles. And I can see right to the distance up into the hills and the mountains. The cloud has changed and has definitely created more solid structures. It feels very calming and very restorative. There definitely is something quite magical about water, isn't there? Hi there.
How you doing, all right?
Good, thank you. You?
Good.
Lovely. As we headed over the very noisy bridge, I noticed 4 guys sat fishing. They were basking in the sunshine, sandwiches were packed and drinks on the side, and it reminded me of my own childhood. Where I grew up, we were very rural. Myself and my friend would often go down to the river and attempt to fish. We never came home with anything, but we were full of stories. We are finally home. I am very hungry and ready to have my lunch. My feet are feeling a little bit sore, but I feel very restored. I really enjoyed that walk with you, and I hope you enjoyed coming along with me too. And I've got to say, my mind feels much clearer. I'm going to take my trainers off, make a cup of tea, and some lunch and sit down in the sunshine. I hope that you will come along with me on to my next walk, and I hope that you enjoyed your journey with me today. I look very much forward to you joining me again. Have a wonderful day or evening.